Give us an intro on yourself.
Yeah, my name's Kiel McClung. I was born in Fresno, but relocated to Palmdale when I was 4 years old. I started my soccer career playing for Palmdale's AYSO, Region 393. I played for a local club team here called AV Heat. I played at Quartz Hill High School. I played at UCLA. I was drafted by Los Angeles Galaxy, and I played 2 years in the USL.
How would you describe the soccer community in Palmdale?
Soccer community in Palmdale, I would say, is just a tight-knit group, very passionate community. And I always tell people, man, we breed talent here in Palmdale, in the Antelope Valley. And it's like the players that come from the Antelope Valley, they all have this underlying theme of just hard work and resilience, and it's like they play with a chip on their shoulder. I think, but above all else, is that the soccer community in the Antelope Valley is enthusiastic and just ready to embrace this new USL team.
What do you think about a USL team coming to the AV?
It's exciting. I think it is a breath of fresh air and a sign of hope for the community, especially with the void of the Jethawks leaving. I think this new USL team has the opportunity to come in and just do what they're continuing to do already and start with a grassroots approach and continue to be involved in the community as much as they possibly can and just really be a sign of hope for the youth players. And now the youth players here in this valley, they see that there's a direct lineage from their youth career all the way to the professional career. So man, I'm so excited, not only for the youth, but just for this community that this professional team is coming.
Tell us about your journey of soccer. When did you start playing?
Yeah, so I started playing soccer for Region 393. So shout out to Palmdale's AYSO Region 393. Still some of my closest friends to this day. I met in Palmdale's AYSO region. So from there, after AYSO, I transitioned into club, and that's when I met Johnny Garza. Johnny Garza was my head coach of our club team. And so I played for AV Heat, and it was a special group of players. And so from AV Heat, that was my local club team. And from there, I went on to play at Quartz Hill High School. At Quartz Hill High School, say this as humbly as possible, won quite a few individual accolades, but the thing we're most proud of was winning a CIF championship. During my time at Quartz Hill, I was called into the under-18 national team, also called into the under-20 national team. I was very fortunate to be recruited by UCLA, and I was part of the #1 recruiting class in the country going into the defending national champion team. So man, what a time to be a Bruin. Spent 4 years at UCLA. My senior year, I captained the team, and from there I was drafted by the Los Angeles Galaxy. I had a very short stint with the Galaxy before signing with the USL, and so I played in the USL for 2 seasons before eventually getting injured and then kind of reevaluating things. So
you mentioned playing for AV Heat. What was one of the things you enjoyed about playing locally in a club?
Yeah, there's something special about representing your community, and the thing that was special about that group is at the time there was no MLS Next, there was no academy. All that was the Coast Premier League, and so the goal was just to get to the Coast Premier League and work your way up through bronze and silver, elite, gold, and try and make it to the Coast Premier League. And our team, I think, was probably the first team to ever actually make it into the Coast Premier League. And man, we had just a special group of players. And the thing I think about that group, and man, I'm gonna age myself here, but I reflect back 20 years later, and I think about, there's only been a handful of successful teams that have come out of the Antelope Valley and have produced college players. And the thing I think that needs to be considered is just the disparity that happens, is because we breed talent here in the Antelope Valley, but that talent just gets dispersed among so many different teams. And because of that, because we're not unified, that talent eventually has to leave the valley. And I hear that story time and time again from so many players that have to leave the valley and weren't fortunate enough to be a part of a team here to be able to stay. And so that's something that I'm so excited about this USL team coming, is just to see the mantra of the one club, one valley. And yeah, so I'm excited to see that for the youth players here.
Winning numerous awards at Quartz Hill High School must have been a remarkable experience. Can you reflect on a specific moment of achievement that stands out during your high school soccer career?
Yeah, I'd like to feel that I'm self-aware enough to know that even though I won a lot of individual awards, is that, you know, as a forward, as a striker, I would have never got the ball if it wasn't for my teammates. And even though I led the state in goals my junior year, someone had to pass me. Someone had to pass me the ball. And so reflecting on my time at Quartz Hill, I think the thing I'm most proud of is just being able to represent my school. There's something special about representing your school, being able to play in front of your friends and family. But for me, what made that season so special is my brother is 1 year older than I am. And so he was a senior, I was a junior. He was the goalkeeper, I was playing up top. And just to be able to win a CIF championship during my brother's senior season, and just to be able to see him off and the rest of that senior class, see them off as CIF champions, that's something I will never forget. And again, that was a special team. That Quartz Hill team is that we ended up going 28 wins, 0 losses, and 2 ties, and we finished that season ranked number 8th in the country. And from that team, I think like 13 or 14 players went off to play college soccer. So it's just a really, really special group. But I think reflecting on my time at Quartz Hill High School is just the memories I was able to make with my friends, but specifically sharing a championship with my brother.
Playing for the U18 and U20 national team is a significant accomplishment. What lessons did you learn from representing your country at such a young age? How did it shape your perspective on the game?
At the time, again, there was no MLS Next, there was no academy. The only way to make it to the youth national team at the time was through ODP. And you had to make your district team, and then you had to make your state team, and then the regional team, and eventually the national team. And so I went to, and so I guess the first lesson that I learned was just resiliency. And I got called into the district team, U13, U14, U15, and every single time got cut. And at U16, I got the tryout letter, and I just remember getting it and being like, I don't think I'm gonna go. And my dad was like, you gotta give it one last shot. And so I went, and again, I'm a forward, and I get there, and the very first tryout, the coach, and I'll never forget, Nat Gonzalez said the starting lineup, and he put me at center back. And I was kind of like taken back, and I went up to coach, I was like, hey man, I've never played center back before. But it's the second part of one, resiliency, two, just being open and being coachable. Because if in that moment I would have said, no, I'm a forward, I'm not gonna play, I had to trust that someone saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And so started that game at center back, and from there, literally in a 10-week span, I went from the state team to the regional team all the way to the under 18 national team, having never played that position before. So in terms of representing your country, there's something so special to be able to get into that starting lineup, hear the national anthem, look down, see that you're representing your country. Man, there's not many feelings out there that's better than that.
Your time at UCLA and being part of the Pac-10 champions must have been incredible. How did your collegiate experience contribute to your growth as a player and a leader, especially captaining the team in your senior year?
My time at UCLA was special. I was part of the #1 recruiting class in the country. I was coming into the defending national champions, and it was just such a special time to be a Bruin. And what made my freshman year even more impactful was that there was 2 local players that were seniors on the team that have been there, they've done it, they've already won a national championship, and Leonard Griffin, who's now the head coach at Cal Berkeley, and then Tony Lawson, who was at Quartz Hill High School. And so just to be a freshman and being in that environment, but also to have 2 local players to be able to look up to as mentors, one was just so special to me. And Tom Fitzgerald was my coach that year. And I'll never forget, I just worked so hard that summer, and I worked so hard in preseason, and the very first game he put out the starting lineup, and we started in a 3-5-2. And Leonard was the left back, Tony Lawson was the center back, and I started as the right back. And so it's an all Palmdale back 3, and so that is something that I will never ever forget. But all that to say, I was surrounded by some incredible players, and I was surrounded just by natural leaders, and I was able to see what it took to become a great leader. And so I just trusted the process, right? I can't be a leader as a freshman. I need to soak that in. I need to soak in and just listen and listen to others. And I'm a firm believer that great leadership is showed over consistent actions over time. And it's like you can't go to the gym, work out one time, and then go back home and think you're gonna be fit, right? It's that the reality is, to be a great leader, it's gonna be consistent actions over time. And so I think that was one of the biggest things I tried to do my senior year, is just consistently tap into the entire team and just show consistent actions of positivity to my teammates during that senior year.
Transitioning to your professional career with the LA Galaxy and later winning the USL Championship with Cleveland City Stars is quite a journey. Can you share a challenging moment you faced during your professional career and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, when I was drafted by the Galaxy, it was definitely a special moment. One that I won't forget. I was at UCLA surrounded by my teammates, and then when my name came across the board in that 4th round, again, it was a feeling I won't ever forget. My time with the Galaxy was short, but it was special, it was influential. I was with them for about 3 months. We went to Bermuda for a preseason, and I got to, one of my childhood heroes was Kobe Jones, and again, just to be able to be on the same field with him. Landon Donovan was there. There was just some big time names in U.S. soccer with the Galaxy at the time. And I think the challenge was that I didn't get signed with the Galaxy. And ultimately, the challenge for me was I ended up being essentially loaned out to the USL team, California Victory. And I think the challenge for me was just being naive about going into this new team in the USL and thinking, I'm just coming from the Galaxy, I'm gonna be able to walk in. And I think I was just very naive on the quality of the USL at the time. And the USL at that time, the Seattle Sounders were in the USL, Vancouver Whitecaps were in the USL, Portland Timbers, Montreal, Minnesota. And so the league was just littered with talent and teams that were eventually going to be MLS franchises. And so for me was quickly realizing that I can't just walk into a new scenario and expect things, right? I have to come in and continue to do what I've done throughout my career, is just work and prove myself and just try and outwork others.
Injuries are a part of any athlete's journey. How did facing an injury during your junior year at UCLA impact your approach to the game? And what advice would you give to young players dealing with setbacks?
It's part of the game, right? And I think whether it's nagging injuries or bigger injuries, I think it's really about the mindset that you take going into that. And the hardest part for me, and really for anyone that I've talked to that has been injured, is, man, you feel like you're alone on an island and you feel like you're isolated because the team is continuing to move forward and all you can do is watch from the sideline. And so I think that's the hardest part, is just the mental side of and focusing on your mental toughness during that time frame, and just in setting daily goals of trying to get back as quickly as you can without re-injuring yourself. And I think that's something that I did too many times. I tried to come back because I was so anxious to get back, and ultimately I re-injured myself. But the advice I would give is just set daily goals when you are injured. Try and be as involved in the team as you possibly can be. Being at practice, asking the coach how you can be involved, getting involved in video analysis, just trying to integrate yourself as much as possible so you don't feel alone, so you don't feel like you're on an island. And once you're able to start doing the small things, getting touches in, just making sure that you slowly work yourself back in to try and get that game fitness back up.
Winning the USL Championship with Cleveland City Stars is a notable achievement. What memories or lessons from that championship run do you think would inspire young soccer players in your hometown?
I would say the importance of self-awareness and understanding your role and your position on the team. I think by doing that first is most important. So for me, I came into that group actually mid-season, and so I wasn't with them from the beginning of the year. So it was a little bit harder because I entered into an established group already, and so I didn't expect to come in and steal someone's starting spot right away. And so I realized that I was coming into a group that was already established. And so for me, in terms of that self-awareness, I wanted to get in and contribute as much as I possibly could into the team. And so I came in and earned some starts towards the end of the season, got some valuable minutes in that playoff run. But the thing is, just enjoying the moment every single time and enjoying the teamwork and the unity that can take place because, man, winning a championship, and I was actually talking to my son about this the other day, is, man, there's no greater feeling than winning a championship along your teammates that you've worked so hard and you've grinded and you've gone through the trainings and then ultimately being able to accomplish that goal. There's no greater feeling. So in terms of just the lessons that I learned in that process was just continue to work hard, enjoy the moment, and then just embracing that teamwork and that unity.
Post-soccer career, how did you find a new passion? How did some of the skills you've learned playing soccer prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah, great question. I would say two things that immediately come to mind is through my playing career, something that stood out and made me stand out as a player was one, just my hard work, but two, competitive drive. I think a lot of athletes naturally have this just like insane competitive drive. But then three, just the continuous need to want to continue to learn. And so I've taken those three things and shifted that passion. And recently I just landed a job with my dream company, with Grammarly. And Grammarly, their mission is to improve lives by improving communication. And it's the world's leading communication assistance tool. And so what I do every day is I communicate with higher ed institutions and just talk with just these educational leaders about their students and their faculty about Grammarly. And so I've taken those things that I've learned in my career and instilled that into my role with Grammarly.
What advice would you give to young players navigating the competitive and rapidly changing youth soccer environment today?
The first thing I would say is focus on your individual development and not just winning. I think so many times people focus on winning and that is the wrong thing to focus on during your development. Second, I would say be versatile and be open to new positions, especially with my story, is I thought I was a forward my entire career and all of a sudden one game, one moment shifted the path of my career. The second would be a positive mindset at all times. Just continuing to be a positive teammate, I think is so powerful in terms of your career and your development. I would say set personal goals on goals you would like to achieve each week, whether it's juggling goals or whether it's just making sure you're getting outside and touching a ball. But setting personal goals, I think, is very, very important. And last, I would say, find a coach that will focus on age-appropriate development and focusing on the appropriate technical skills and ball skills, especially from a young age.
Are there specific qualities or habits you think are crucial for success in higher level soccer?
Yeah, I think the two that stand out most to me would be mental toughness and your work ethic. I think I've been around the game long enough where the players that tend to succeed at the highest of levels, they always have those two. They have a mental toughness to them. I'm gonna steal a Ted Lasso line where if something bad happens, they're like a goldfish, right? They forget about it and they move forward. And that's something that actually I always try and tell my youth players is that you can't control what just happened, but you can control what is about to happen. And I think that's such an important mindset for young players. But at that highest level, I'd say those two for sure, mental toughness and work ethic.
If you could go back and give yourself some advice, what would it be?
Some advice I would give myself. Man, I think first is just embrace every moment and enjoy every moment. Enjoy the process because it is a long road, it is a long process. But I think most importantly, looking back on my career would be, man, I worked so hard to get to where I was at UCLA. And I think the advice I would give myself is to double down. And once you get to the top, you gotta work that much harder, especially if you want to be great and become a professional, is you just have to work that much harder. So I think, looking back, I think that'd be the advice I'd give myself is just to double down. Once I feel like quote unquote I've made it, right, is just to work that much harder.
Looking back at your journey, what are you most proud of?
Looking back at my journey, I'm so proud to have represented this valley playing for AV Heat. I'm so proud to have played at Quartz Hill High School, to be a Bruin at UCLA, and then to have been drafted and played professionally. But I think what I'm most proud of is just the relationships that I built along the way. And I would advise any young player in this valley is just to, again, focus on those relationships and hone in on those relationships along the way, because some of the people that you meet end up being your lifelong friends.
As someone who has achieved success at various levels of soccer, what legacy do you hope to leave for the next generation of soccer players from your city?
Man, you guys are asking the tough questions. I think about the trickle-down effect, and when I was coming up as a young player, the people that I looked up to most was Leonard Griffin and Tony Lawson, and just some of those players that were older than me. And I think about those players and the players that they had to look up to is like, I think of names like Rafael Garcia, who went off to play at Notre Dame. I think of players before him like a Jeff Carlson or a Kim Britton or a Mike Dabini. And I think for young players, it's important to know the history that's been here. And so for me, those were the players that inspired me, just to be able to put the work in and know that if they can do it, I can too. And so I guess the legacy I hope to have left is just to have been part of that lineage, and to hopefully have inspired players below me, who then could have gone and inspired other players that are now hopefully inspiring this current generation. So